A detainee's harrowing account of torture at Guantanamo Bay prison is finally being published after US officials held it back for years. Mohamedou Ould Slahi's diary is the most detailed testimony from a prisoner still held at the notorious facility. Here's an extract from his account, read by actor Stephen Fry.
They stuffed the air between my clothes and me with ice cubes from the neck to my ankles, and whenever the ice melted, they put in new, hard ice cubes. Moreover, every once in a while, one of the guards smashed me, most of the time in the face. The ice served both for the pain and for wiping out the bruises I had from that afternoon. Everything seemed to be perfectly prepared. People from cold regions might not understand the extent of the pain when ice cubes get stuck on your body. Historically, kings during medieval and pre-medieval times used this method to let the victim slowly die. The other method of hitting the victim while blindfolded in inconsistent intervals was used by the Nazis during World War II. There is nothing more terrorizing than making somebody expect to smash every single heartbeat.
Well, Slahi was seized by US agents in his native Mauritania shortly after the 9/11 attacks on America. Before being flown to Guantanamo Bay, he says he was interrogated in Jordan and Afghanistan. The editor of the diary told us despite his ordeal, Slahi managed to retain his humanity.
He was one of two so-called special projects in Guantanamo whose interrogation plan was sort of meticulously designed ahead of time, written down, and ultimately signed off on and approved by the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld. And then his interrogators, of course, kept very detailed records of how they implemented this plan. So, we've known broadly what happened to him. I think for me, while it was difficult to work through that material, the interesting thing was, his approach to his situation is so much different from what you would expect. He's a deeply humane person. He's a very curious person. He's a very forgiving person. And he's a very social person. And so I was sustained in working through this book because of the depiction that he gives of his captors, of himself, that sort of regains some of the humanity that was, negated by the treatment that he received.
Well, Slahi learned English and wrote all 466 pages of his diary by hand. He was cleared for release 5 years ago, but held back by judicial red tape. His lawyer says those responsible for his torture should be prosecuted.
The government of the United States has exposed that it tortured Mohamedou. There have been long reports written about it, and that's why we're able to get this book. What's new about this book is that you're hearing it from his side. You're hearing the same thing the government has said that it did to him. He's describing how he felt. It's very important to understand that my client's been in Guantanamo since August of 2002. He's never been charged with a crime, ever. He's not charged with any crime now. The torture was ordered by the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld. It was the Secretary of Defense who ordered these special interrogation measures against Mohamedou that actually were torture. I believe that the government of the United States should begin to pursue prosecutions against those people who have committed torture. However, our purpose is for the world to see this from Mohamedou's point of view and for him to be released.